Hello everyone to CodeGen 2021. I'm excited to be here. We're going to talk about Blazor, we're going to talk about Xamarin Forms, we're going to talk about mobile Blazor binding. It's 5:50 a.m. here in Arizona. I already had my coffee. I'm excited to be here, so let's get to it. We're going to be talking about mobile Blazor bindings and Maui. And pretty much if we're going to show an application, we're going to do like a secret recipe about 1 cup of Blazor, 2 spoonfuls of Xamarin Forms, 1 pinch of JavaScript, and a whole lot of C#. That's what we like and love, right? So before we start, my name is Jose Javier Colombier. I'm a Dev Express and Microsoft MVP, and I'm pumped to be here today. And I want to thank everybody that is participating to spend his Saturday just to talk about .NET in general and technology. So first thing that we need to think when we are going to develop a new application, okay, we got this idea, we have this great startup plan that we need to build an app. The first thing that we have to decide is, are we building a web, a desktop, or a mobile app? And if you think about this for a second, there is an overwhelming amount of choices here. There is an overwhelming amount of language, tools, and where do I go? Where do I start? So if I want to, or what if I want to target everything? What if I want to target web, desktop, and mobile? So, well, you could always do web, but web, then you will be losing the native capabilities. You will be losing access to the device. So, yeah, web could be a choice, even if you have that trade-off, and also web have the I won't say the problem, but not everyone is a fan of JavaScript, and until nowadays, the web development has been focused on like a back end that pretty much you can run anything from PHP, .NET, Java, anything you need to, but the front end has always been JavaScript, and it has always been a little frustrating because why cannot reuse your current skill? Why can you not, for example, reuse all your C# knowledge, all your libraries, and so on? So you could go the web route, but again, it's a shame that you cannot do like a really cross-platform for web, desktop, and mobile. So if I was starting a new application nowadays, there are 2 main frameworks that I would bet on right away, and they have huge amount of official support by Microsoft and a lot of community contributions, a lot of support for the community. And these 2 will be Xamarin Forms and Blazor. And let's see why. First thing, Xamarin Forms, Xamarin and Xamarin Forms. Xamarin has been around since 2011 and Xamarin Forms in 2014. So pretty much at this time in 2021, most people already know Xamarin and Xamarin Forms or some type of they have already some basic knowledge of that, but let's quickly review it. So Xamarin, pretty much, you have a shared C# backend, and you can do the UI in each of the platforms, in Android, in iOS with storyboards, in UWP, in Windows. And Xamarin Forms come to solve that, so you can have just a shared layer of UI. So you have also your shared UI, that you have the XAML of Xamarin Forms, and then you can deploy to Android, to iOS, to Windows. But those are the official supported platforms. There is also community contributions that are Samsung for Tizen, the Mac OS, GTK, WPF. So it's a really nice way to develop mobile application using the tools that we know, the language that we know. We as .NET developer, Xamarin came to revolutionize the mobile ecosystem. So there it comes Maui. Maui will be the evolution of Xamarin Form that is coming on .NET C. And if you see now, Mac OS is already supported officially by Microsoft, so it's coming there out of the box. So, and of course, we're going to be missing web here. If you think about that, there are also some communities like Frank Kruger has his OE project that you can have a web head that you can somehow push your Xamarin Form to the web, and he has some render that takes your XAML and put it in control from the HTML. But this is still not a production-ready solution. This is still not supported officially by Microsoft, so you will have to use it at your own risk. There is also, again, WebAssembly render for Xamarin Forms that, platform build, that they are really nice and they're really interesting. But again, this is another community contribution that is not supported officially for Microsoft. So if I want to do web, what is my other choice? Okay, then I will choose Blazor. Blazor is the new framework from Microsoft, and that's why I want to go a little bit more deep in Blazor. And actually, our talk is a mobile Blazor binding, and you will see what is the amazing future that Blazor has. But again, if we come back to this issue that we have, that from years and years, JavaScript has been the leader in front-end in front-end web development, then you will say that Blazor has come to revolutionize web development. It's the way to build interactive web UI with C# through WebAssembly. So using that binary format that is used by all the browsers, that now it's not like when we were using before Silverlight, that would based on plugins. This is the for open web standard that the web has adopted. Now we can build our Blazor application using C# and it will compile to that middle format that the browser can understand. That way we will be building this interactive web application with C#. So if we think this is the picture that Microsoft provides about the future of Blazor, and it's really exciting. We have Blazor Server, Blazor WebAssembly. We have Blazor PWA that pretty much is still in the same sandbox that JavaScript has, but it behaves a little more as a desktop application. You have offline support. You can have your home screen and taskbar icon. You can do push notification, but you still are constrained in the JavaScript sandbox in the browser world. You cannot, for example, access the file system on any other of those APIs. We also have the Blazor Hybrid that pretty much is rendered into Electron or WebView. And this is a really interesting choice, because this way you can actually have your web application running in iOS, in Mac, running on Windows, running on Linux. So again, possibilities here are endless. And of course, we have Blazor Native, that is what we're going to show and talk more about today, is the mobile part of using Blazor in mobile. So let's talk quickly about Blazor, because Blazor is the new kid on the college. Actually, Blazor has been production ready since May 2020, so just a couple months. So we have two choices of hosting Blazor. First hosting model is Blazor WebAssembly. That is actually the more revolutionary, because it's actually running all your C# code in the browser. So one of the great things that Microsoft did is when WebAssembly came out, they took the .NET runtime and they compiled it to WebAssembly. So that way it can interpret our C# code or DLLs and run it natively on the browser. And we also have Blazor Server that, through a connection of SignalR, we're going to be sending events to the server and sending UI updates back to the browser. And it does it really efficiently. And let's see both of those choices in action. Let's review all that future of Blazor from server, client, PWA, Electron, and mobile Blazor to see what is our future here. And it's really, really, really exciting. So the first one is Blazor WebAssembly. Everything is running directly in the client through WebAssembly. They downloads everything to the browser. Of course, it has to download the HTML, the CSS, JavaScript, all the .NET DLLs, and the .NET runtimes. That's why it takes a little bit more of time, and it is a little more heavy on the size. But the good thing is, like, there is no server needed. Everything is running locally on the server, so you can have offline support, and you can be running like the try.net, that you can pretty much put your code on the browser and see the output right there. And you can, of course, host it in things like Azure Static Storage, static website, where you can just put all your assets there and let the browser take it from there. On the other side, we have Blazor Server. Blazor Server has a SignalR connection that really efficiently sends event to the browser, UI update to the events to the server, UI update to the browser. And pretty much all Blazor apps are ASP.NET Core Server apps. So it contains the .NET Core runtime, and the communication with the UI, again, happens through SignalR. And for those who doesn't know what SignalR is a framework for bilateral communication, where clients can subscribe, and we can have like one-to-one, one-to-many subscription that the server can update and can let the client know when there has been any type of change, any type of notification, and it does it really efficient. Let me show you something. For example, here is an example of a Blazor Server app when we just click the button, and the only thing that we do is we change the font style of the label, and we make it bold. If you see the GIF that we're showing here, the only thing that is sending back is font weight bold. So Blazor Server is taking care of having a copy of the DOM in the server, and just comparing when there is any type of change with the new changes that it has provided. So it will check and only send back the difference of the HTML. If you see, it's really, really small, the payload that is sending back, and really efficient. And let's see it here a little bit more. This is the binary message that is being sent. And of course, this binary message is by no means meant to be readable for the user, but you can still get some information out of it. And if you see, the payload is only 229 bytes, so it's really small. So I have to say kudos to the Microsoft team for the great communication mechanism that they put here. So let's talk about the architecture of Blazor. Blazor is based on components. So let's put this Blazing Pix application as an example. If you see here, we have pretty much the UI, and in the UI we have like a car view, we have a car on the side, and we have a navigation. So all of those ones, the nav, the car view, the part where you put the order, all of those are components. In Blazor, everything is component. Blazor is based on reusable components. It's kind of like the web form replacement. It's using the same type of architecture. So it's the modern approach of building a website application. So again, it's a composition of components. So a component can have inside another component, and that one can have inside another component. And actually, we can see that the main component is the app component that has everything inside there. And the great thing about this is that you can take this component and put in a separate library, in a Razor library, and ship it as a NuGet package and reuse it in other Blazor applications, in other part of your application. So the possibilities are endless of what we can achieve with this model of components. And we can create templates. And I heard a podcast about Michael Washington in Azure DevOps podcast, where he was talking about passing a template parameter, a template component to another component that take that as a parameter. So it was some mind-blowing way to create some really dynamic application. One example of this type of dynamic, and I will encourage you guys to check, is the Octane that they are building, a really CMS, a really dynamic Blazor application based on this concept. So, for example, in Blazor WebAssembly here, we see that the root component is the app component. So even just to bootstrap the application is everything based on components. On the Blazor server, on the host page, you can see that they are also instantiated app component. So, and this is really important because we're going to see how they are using that to load the components that we're going to be using in the mobile counterpart. So if you think about this, it's like component inside component inside component. It's like the Inception movie that you have a drink inside a drink, and inside a drink, so if you don't have that little toy, that it will let you know where you are. Sometimes you get too deep inside those component architectures. And of course, I know that JavaScript is one of those languages that you love or hate, but JavaScript has been around for a lot of years. It has a lot of library, a lot of stable things tested with millions of users. So it's a really way. So we cannot disregard JavaScript. And again, it has a lot of nice implementation. But the great thing about Blazor is that it can invoke JavaScript functions from .NET methods and .NET methods from JavaScript functions. So JavaScript interop is a first-class citizen in Blazor. So let's see it in action for just a quick second, just a walkthrough. So pretty much we have our www root folder where we have all our assets, all our CSS, all our image, and we have our JavaScript file. So we have this Blazor interop JavaScript file that we are going to refer to it. We're going to link to it in our host page. If it's a Blazor server or on index, it's a Blazor WebAssembly. After we just refer to it, we can just, let's say that we have a show alert function. That's the JavaScript that we have in our Blazor interop JavaScript. And the only thing that we have to do is inject the JS runtime and invoke it. That simple is how we can call our JavaScript functions inside the .NET code. So we will be able to not have to use JavaScript and use C# all the time, but if we need to, we can call JavaScript function from .NET, and we can call .NET from JavaScript function. Think about that for a second. That's amazing. So we are ready to talk about the server. We are ready to talk about the client. The third step on the future of Blazor was PWA. So if you think about PWA, when you create file new project, and we will show this in action in just a little bit, we already have here support to progressive web app. It's just a checkbox that we put in our application, and from there you will be able to do things like have offline capabilities, have service, the home screen and taskbar, push notifications, service workers running in the background. So we are still constrained to the browser sandbox, but we can have like a look and feel of a desktop application. Okay, the fourth one was like Electron. Let's try to run Blazor natively, and because Electron has several APIs to do things like reading a file system and other APIs that are outside of the sandbox of the browser provided, is a really nice implementation. An example of Electron application are VS Code, Slack. So let's see how easy it is to put Electron in a Blazor app. Pretty much, you add another package, you call the Electron Net API to create a window, add this to your Create Host Builder, and then pretty much it's just installing the global tool of Electron.NET CLI, initialize Electron to create the manifest and so on, a builder for the target application. In this case, we are showing Win, but it could be Mac, it could be Linux, and you will see that everywhere on the spectrum. So here is where it comes the interesting part about our talk. Experimental mobile Blazor binding. So right here, if you have a thing about React have a approach similar. They have React Native where they take their React code and they can run it in a mobile device. So right here, we're going to be targeting Android, iOS, but through Electron, I just saw, and through Xamarin Forms as well. We're going to be showing that it can deploy to Mac, can deploy to Windows, and of course, it can deploy to every browser because we're going to be doing a complement of the Blazor part. So let's do Blazor in mobile. Again, you have your, let's say that you have your Blazor application that is running on the web. You have the same components that you are using on the web. You will be able to use it in UI, in mobile, and in desktop. You will have native access to the device. So if you are using something that's Xamarin Essentials, you can definitely use that in your application. You will be able to do hybrid. So you can have your native components, but you can also have your web components in the same application. That's mind-blowing. So how do we start with a mobile Blazor bindings? Pretty much, the thing that we have to do is we need to install the .NET Core 3.1 SDK. That's the minimum. Of course, right now we can install .NET 5. We can install a .NET 6 preview. And of course, you will need some ID like Visual Studio or Visual Studio Mac with the mobile development with .NET and the ASP.NET Web development. And if you want to use the Blazor hybrid app, like we're going to be able to use native and web part, you have to install Microsoft Edge Canary Channel. Then you install the project template. You just create the .NET new and you say, please give me all the .NET mobile Blazor binding templates, and you're good to go. After that, it's just creating a new project, .NET new mobile Blazor bindings or .NET new Blazor hybrid. And for the demo that we're going to be showing, we're selecting a Blazor hybrid. So we can see both approaches. So let's get out of the slide for just a second. And the first thing that I want to show is let's create a new Blazor WebAssembly app. Okay, we're going to call it CodeGen 2021. And if you see here, we're going to select Progressive Web Application. That's it. That's the only thing that we have to do. Let's click Create, and let's wait for a second to create the application, and then we can see what Microsoft provides for us out of the box without having done anything so far. Just a second, I went to the other monitor. Let me put it here. And please, if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer any of those. Just leave it on the chat, and I'll get to it either through the talk or at the end of the talk. Okay, so if we see here, we have pretty much, again, our app Blazor, that is our main component. This is the first one that is actually loading all our application, and it has a router component. This component is not defined by us. This is coming out of the box from the Blazor framework, and here it pretty much route to the right place. It will say, okay, if the component that you are asking is in our file structure, we're gonna send you to that one. If it's not found, okay, we're gonna say you, hey, there is nothing in this address. If we go again to the index, right here, pretty much we just have just a simple component, the solver component, and just a HTML tag. And let's run it. Okay, went to the monitor as well. Let's come back here. Let's wait for that a little bit. Okay, this is the template that Microsoft provides for us, just a little bit boilerplate code, so we get started. If you see here, we pretty much have a counter. We have the face data that gives you some weather forecast, and we have the home that pretty much is how Blazor is working for you and a tag. And if we inspect it, we can see in the network the Blazor WebAssembly happening. Let's just refresh, and you will see here all the. Let's refresh for a second. Okay. And okay, so if we see here, pretty much we're gonna have this install button without having done anything else. We just pretty much did the progressive web, and if we install it right away, it creates some type of desktop application for us. So it looks like it's a desktop application, and you can have push notification. You can have a home stack. So if we just minimize this for a second and to make things open, you will see, and going to the other monitor as well, demo bots are not in my, so you will see the icon of the application that it got installed. So really neat, right? Without doing nothing, Microsoft already provides all of those things for us out of the box, and you can see here the service work, the manifest. You can see how the PWA actually is working for us. So that's the first part. I wanted to show you a pretty simple Blazor application that it has, again, just the main consent, the app component, the PWA, and so on. So let's go a little more advanced now. Yeah. I have here another app that we're gonna be showing that it has the mobile part, the web part, and a share component. So if you see this share component, pretty much the only thing that we're doing here is just having a canvas, and we're going to do a little bit of JavaScript because we want to show that the interop is really first class citizen here. So let's check quickly the JavaScript. Pretty much is just getting the canvas and drawing a clock and nothing crazy, just showing the real time here. So let's run this in Blazor. We have here our Blazor app, and let's check. We have our project Razor library component in our dependencies, and we can again go to our pages and see that in our index we're going to be referring our Blazor library components, and we're going to pass the size of the component that we want, and we're good to go. One just smart thing here in the host, we need to have the JavaScript that we are using reference, so it knows where to look for it. But with only that, I can just set as a starter project, and let's run it. Let's wait for just a second. It's coming. And we have here our Blazor component that we're taking that component from a Razor library that could be a NuGet package, and we are referencing our application. So this is mind-blowing because we can start building our UI widgets, we can start building our UI libraries and just reference that in any Blazor application that we have. And if we see here, it's 6:15 here in Arizona, 6 a.m. So really early, but I'm really excited to be here talking with you guys and presenting this. So now that we have this application and that we are showing actually how the application is interacting with components, reusable components, then let's do something else. We pretty much I'm going to take here, and I'm gonna open a terminal, and I'm gonna do the command that we were just discussing before. We are going to run the command electrolyze and build target win with that one, because I already add the NuGet package. I already run I already include here use Electron, and I already told them to create the window scene right here. What it does is it won't start the Blazor app until the Electron window gets created. So with that one and running the command, pretty much now we can go to our Blazor app go to our bin folder. Go to our desktop that got created. Right here we have an installer already. So if we run that, and it's installing here, you'll see that we have taken a web application and we have converted to a desktop application. And this one we have native application. This one we will be able to access the file system. We will be able to do a lot of other things that we cannot achieve with the PWA. So let's wait for it to load, and you will see that it has like a menu that you can also customize. It has a lot of nice capabilities. Let's wait for it for just a second. It's coming here, and here we go. Again, we have our clock inside of our app. We have a file menu here that we can customize and add information. We have native capability. We actually have, again, let's move it here, an icon that it got created. So, and if you see, I only did target Win, but I can do target Mac OS, I can do target Linux, and we can have the same application running in the three major OSs. So think about that for just a second, the capability that with just one code, we can target all of those platforms. Okay, but let's not stay there. There is more. So let's close it here a second. And now let's run the other part. And then we're gonna review how the code gets compiled to the mobile version. But you will see we are already showing web. We are already showing a progressive web app. We are already showing Electron, and that's running on Windows. That can be the same in Mac or Linux, like VS Code. VS Code is running in Electron, like Slack. And now we're gonna show in mobile. So what is truly cross-platform? I don't know. I get excited by this experimental, because we have to say the Blazor mobile band is still experimental product from Microsoft. But I'm excited by the day of the capability of the amount of power that will allow to give us. That will give us just one code base, just something that we can show to the client and say, where do you want it? We put it there. And let's wait for a second until our emulator shows the application. Okay, good. Coffee is always good in the morning. Okay, 6:15 again, and as you see, we have our same application that we were running on the browser, that we were running on Mac and Windows, that we were running we have it here in Android, and we can have it here in iOS. And if you see here, the same application with the same content, with the same page data, we have home. And I want to emphasize this. This web content is running in the same process as the application. There is no web server here. Everything is running natively, so it's mind-blowing. So let's stop this for a second and just review it quickly. So if you see here, we have our Blazor mobile. This will be like the Xamarin Form Net Standard library. And if you have done Xamarin Forms application, you know that they have all these elements, stack layout, content view, and so on. So let's pretty much check what we have here. So this is our main Razor, like the main page on Xamarin Forms. This is our main Razor. So our app, what it's doing right here is creating the default host builder for mobile Blazor binding host, adding the Blazor hybrid. And if you see, is calling for this main page, and in that main Razor, pretty much let's just put our mouse over the stack layout. If you see, this stack layout is not coming from Xamarin Forms, it's coming from a mobile Blazor binding dot element. So every element that Xamarin Forms that is going to be the future Maui has is coming back to this, is being converted to this mobile Blazor binding. So it's really nice that you will be able to have the same web design patterns, the same UI that you use in Blazor, you will be able to use it here. And then you will have your app code, and you can do all your exactly the same as you do it on Blazor. Now, let's see this Blazor web view component. This one is one of the most interesting one, because pretty much what it's doing here is instantiating or mobile based on mobile Blazor binding. Sorry, my pronunciation today is the demo gods are not on my side, but the Blazor mobile binding is initiated in this app component. That if we look at the app component, we look at our app component, pretty much it looks exactly the same as the one that we were showing in Blazor. So this one, it knows where to look for the components that we are instantiated and show it there. And if you see here, is right here we have all of web UI components exactly as we have. And let's check the index. That's the one where we're bringing from our Razor Crisis library component and instantiated that component as well. One really catch that I want to add here is that if you go to our now every project exactly as Xamarin form, we have an Android, we have an iOS, macOS, Windows. If you now go to your www root, we have an index here, and you as well should reference your JavaScript, because that way it will know where to look for that JavaScript to run and to do any logic that you want. And again, let's go to Windows now. There is again a www root, and there is an index here that we need to reference that. And think about this. Now we can instead target Windows instead of Android, run it, and voila, we're going to have our same application that we run it on, just a second, right here. The same application that we're running on web, that we're running on Android, is running on Windows now. So, pretty good, right? Now, let's see a few more things. Let's come back to our index page, to our main Razor page, and let's uncomment this. So far we were showing already that we were reusing the component that we had in our Razor class library that we were actually using in our web application, in our Blazor app. But what if we want to have like a mix and hybrid? And that's why we decided to instantiate this template instead of the other one. Because right now we can have this stack layout that again is coming from the mobile Blazor binding namespace, and we can have like a mix of native components and web components. Let's again select Android and run it again. So think that right now you can have the best of both worlds. Let's say that in your .NET team you have people that are really comfortable with the Blazor design pattern of the UI, and then you have other part of your team that are really comfortable with XAML. You will be able to do both work. You will be able to mix and match depending on your needs. Of course, I'm a big advocate for conventions, for standardization, so your whole thing speak the same language, so your whole thing know how to work together. So this mix and match should be done with some caution, but the possibilities are endless. And again, nowadays I think that that's the most important path that Microsoft and almost everyone is taking, is doing your current skills and just letting the tooling take care of everything. So if you're good in JavaScript, you shouldn't change. The tooling should be able to target Windows, web, mobile, and should be able to compile for your desired framework. Like I have seen Kotlin compiling for iOS, React compile for web and for mobile as well. So we as the .NET developer now have the possibility to explode that, to do again. If you see right here on the top, this hello world, that is a native counterpart, and then we have below all our web components directly here. So I don't know, but I just get pumped and pumped just to think about the possibilities that we can achieve here. So coming back, let's review a few other things. So the thing that we need to talk here is that with .NET 6, with Maui, this will become like again a mix and match. You will be able to have, especially with the single project structure that they are coming with, you are going to be able to have just a little bit of everything. You will be able to do XAML, you will be able to do HTML, because that's the other thing. They are also trying to support HTML only app. So if your app is completely in HTML, that should be good to go. You will also be able to host it inside the Blazor web view. And let me come back to the slides for just a second. So one thing that I want to emphasize about mobile Blazor binding, the web content is in the same process as the rest of the app. There is no app service running behind. There is nothing. It's running natively, and the capabilities are endless. You will be able to have all the native access that is being provided by you. You can be able to use accelerometer, you will be able to use GPS, you will be able to use maps, everything you want, because even if every time the web capabilities gets more and more close, you are able to use all of those one on the web. There is no replacement for the native part of the mobile application. So again, there is no crazy thing, or there is no black magic between remote and between app domain. Everything is running there. You will have access to all the tooling tools, like again Visual Studio with all the debugging capabilities, and there is a lot of things coming on, like a host reload for Blazor that's coming soon. There is, of course, experimental tag. If you go mobile Blazor binding, there is still an experimental project from Microsoft. There is still not control template like carousel view. There is still more things that are not supported, but we're getting there. So everywhere the Xamarin Forms runs, and if you think Xamarin Forms is not only iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows. Mac supporting in Net 6. It's also Tyson, it's also GTK, it's also WPF. Everywhere where Xamarin Forms runs, you will be able to use this mobile Blazor binding. And one question that we get a lot is, how complete is a mobile Blazor binding? So pretty much right here is a matter of what is your requirement, what is the need that you have. We have a few applications running in mobile Blazor binding, and we actually have it on the store, but they are simple applications, but for our needs, it gets the work done. So that is up to you to decide how complete is this and what do you really need from it. But I think that is a really, really huge step towards the future. And you, with all this right now, is like, let's make you productive for what you know. If you know MVU and you want to go that route, do it. If you know SAML and you want to do that route, please go for it. Use SAML and Xamarin Forms, and even you can use SAML from UWP. You use something like Uno, but it's up to you. What are you feel more comfortable, more productive? Choose that one. But again, I think that even myself, that I have never been a web developer, I feel so comfortable with Blazor, with being able to use all the nuggets that I already know, all the C# that I already know, all the tooling of Visual Studio, VS Code. So I feel like in home doing this, and now being able to use that in desktop, mobile, is a dream come true. So what is coming for Blazor in the Net 6? So hot reload for Blazor, and that's just a big feature, because it saves you a lot of time, especially with building UI, that you are only changing a few minor things and you have to redeploy, recompile. So this is a huge big thing, and we have known that when they add that for Xamarin Forms, it was a deal changer. IoT compilation, so we can actually start taking advantage of those performance boosters. We're going to be able to target and deploy to desktop platform, and it will be already supported by Microsoft. This is an official thing. It's not something that the community is playing with. It's not something like, it will be officially supported, and they are working on some like lighter implementation of Electron, like with because pretty much what it's doing is packing the Chromium and Node.js and everything. So every way that we can do that lighter, it will actually improve performance, and it will improve the speed of our application, the speed of our development, and that's a big thing for us. We have support for custom events, arcs in Blazor, required parameters to Blazor components. It will expose localization changing event for navigation manager. Will be able to dynamically render components, update Blazor help component, and this is really huge for CEO. And we want to have improved SVG support in Blazor. We've been able to do drag and drop, and a lot of nice things. So one thing that I will say, like, we cannot be successful without the community. The community is what gives great power to us. It's what actually makes us grow. So I always say, if you know something, please share it with the community. Don't be afraid to give a talk. Even if, like, for example, myself, my English is not perfect, but I enjoy to have a conversation with you guys and just discuss our personal projects, just discuss what we are using in our work. That sharing something, I guarantee you there will be someone that it will benefit. And if I give a talk about starting with Blazor the other day, and someone just say, hey, my team, we use .NET for the back end, but we have been using all Angular for the front end, and after your talk, and just was calling my boss and telling, hey, we should try Blazor because the productivity with having just one team that is .NET that can right away use the same validation in the client, in the server, that it will be a life changing. And if I am able to just get one person to get excited with Blazor, to, like, I feel my work is done. So please join the community. Please check this awesome Blazor repo, with there is a big collection of Blazor resources of from scalability to reusable components to a lot of library from DevExpress, Syncfusion, Math Blazor, Ralsing. There is a lot to cover here. So there is, again, a big power on working together. There is a big power of joining the community. So with that one, thank you for your time, and I will just be here if you guys have any questions. It could be here or offline. Here is my Twitter, here is my LinkedIn, here is my GitHub. I'm more than happy to just do another meeting, just talk about it, send me an email, and we can discuss about all these things. I hope that I get you excited about mobile Blazor binding, but again, it's a huge life-changing framework that is coming. That will be actually revolutionize the way that we build. We will be able to do real cross-platform with just one code base. I think that we have still like 10 or 15 more minutes. So more than happy to answer any questions, or actually we can, while we're doing that, we can review a little bit more here, because I wanted to show a few more things actually. If you see, there is actually, and this is what I like, out of the box, all that boilerplate code, we have all our resources, all our WW root, everything.